Hello, all. We are live, or at least we should be, from Jersey Mike's Arena, where Rutgers defeated Delaware State 65-50 in their final non-conference game. Before I get into it, my usual pre-stream or early stream disclosures. Let me know how the audio sounds. I apologize for it being awful last time, but my microphone is here and on, and it said it was connected, so it should be better right now. And if it's not, again, I really apologize. And we will do better next time. But I think we should be safe right now. So Rutgers beats. Thank you for the thumbs up, Frank R. Rutgers beats Delaware 65-50 in a game where they were horrible offensively. There is no other way to put it. They shot 29.8% from the field. They had as many turnovers as made field goals, 17. They had 10 points in the paint against Delaware State. 10 points in the paint against Delaware State. There was a 15-minute period where they made one field goal. 15 minutes, one field goal. And 37% of their points came at the free throw line. That's just not good enough. I mean, it's good enough to beat Delaware State, which is the 11th lowest team in Ken Palm's rankings. This is a team that beat Kean, Kean, the D3 school up north in New Jersey, by 2 points. This is a bad basketball team, right? They just don't have anywhere near the resources to compete with Rutgers. They're worse than Rider, and Rutgers only won by 15 and was pretty bad offensively. Steve Peichel pointed out how good they were defensively, and they held Delaware State to 33.3% shooting, but this is Delaware State. They're 287th nationally. They were 287th nationally defensively. They are 364th offensively, meaning they're the second worst offense in the country, efficiency-wise. So, I mean, Rutgers should hold them defensively. That is the bare minimum. They should hold them to 50 points. Frankly, 50 points might be a little bit too much to give to this team. Delaware State shot 5 of 15 on threes, 11 of 18 from the free throw line. They did miss 2 in a row at one point, so people in attendance, which there were a lot more people than I expected. I suspect a lot of the tickets were given away for free to youth groups and high schools because there were a lot of those groups around. Nonetheless, though, much better crowd than I expected for a Monday night, December 29th, for this team and that opponent. Kudos to whoever came out. I mean this sincerely. You should receive some sort of recognition, something. At the end of the season, free ticket, free parking for a game in the Big Ten. Lord knows whoever paid for parking paid way too much money for parking. I understand it from the Rutgers point of view, needing it to make money, right? You need to find revenue in every single crevice, but $32 for parking is hard to swallow, I think, for most fans, especially for the product they're watching. So for those that came and paid $32 in parking, probably 3 times the amount of money they paid for a ticket, and stayed through the game and made a decent atmosphere, I think that's applaudable and that's commendable for people that are sticking this through. Because frankly, there was just not much positive to take from this game. We'll start with the positive. Dylan Grant had a good first half, was aggressive, came out trying to score, trying to shoot, made an open 3 early on. In the first half, he had 12 points on 5 of 8 shooting. And then Tariq Francis built on his really good performance against Penn, had 11 points on 3 of 6 shooting in the first half as well. Those two combined to score, I have it in my story, they combined to score 37 points on 10 of 25 shooting. Then the other 9 players that played scored 28 points on 10 of 32 shooting. So Rutgers was mostly carried by those two. Those two are, if we're being frank, the 2 best offensive players probably on this roster, certainly the most dependable. Harun Zerno went 0 of 7 on 3. I think that's just a particularly bad game. I think he's better than that shooting, obviously. You got to hit those shots. I mean, I thought a lot of them were good looks, as Steve Michael said, but that just a rough game for him. But I like the process from him. But other than that, I mean, hard to get many positives. I'll go really quickly through the players, not dive in too deep, because again, it's Delaware State, where I think a positive performance is kind of expected and a bad performance is kind of not a great sign. Darren Buchanan in 12 minutes had 5 turnovers. He had 5 turnovers in his first 7 minutes. That's, I mean, bad. That's bad, obviously. Jermichael Davis, 2 of 7 shooting, had 6 points, 6 rebounds, no assists. Rutgers had 7 assists on 17 makes. Dennis Badalow, 0 of 2 shooting. His slump continues. He's not playing up to the level that he should be. I don't understand how he's been struggling so much, particularly in the last 2 games against poor opposition. I mean, the last game he barely played. It's a head scratcher to me, and obviously I think Rutgers needs him to be better in Big Ten play to have any chance. Obviously, Bryce Dortch, bright spot, 2 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, filling in again at the center position. At center, it was Emmanuel Bole, who had a rough game, 1 of 6 from the field, missing multiple open layups, just blowing layups against much smaller defenders. It's not like Delaware State had a center that can compete with him physically. More bad signs they rack up, and going into Big Ten play, that's a major alarm. He had 6 points. 4 of his points came on the free throw line, where he was 4 of 7, and 12 rebounds, 2 blocks. Decent enough defensively, obviously. He should be against Delaware State. Not great offensively. And then Bryce Dortch was the backup center. So he's really solidified himself as the backup center, which is good for him as a sophomore, finding a role on this team as a bit of a tweener. Bad sign for Byfall, who did not play today, and Javante Ware, who also did not play today. I don't know if that's because the game was always a little too close for comfort with it being Delaware State, or if these guys are just not going to have a role in the Big Ten, which for the on-court product, it's good for Rutgers that Byfall doesn't play, because he's unplayable. He adds nothing aside from being a liability, frankly. I mean, that's just, they're trying to put it as nicely as possible. But it's a bad sign in that it was a huge miss in the transfer portal. I understand the NIL restrictions this team was working under, but there had to be a better center out there that would take the amount of money which wasn't a lot, but take whatever they gave him. There had to be a better center. There probably were many better centers on the market. Just a huge swing and miss there from the staff. And Javante Ware probably still a little too green. I know he was banged up a little bit earlier in the season, so that one is more a long-term view that one can understand. Byfall, I mean, I would be shocked if he's on the roster next year. So that's an indictment going into Big Ten play. That's the major concern going into Big Ten play, which I'll use that transition to talk about Big Ten play starting later this week against Ohio State at home. I mean, as we've talked about this ad nauseum, this team is going to, at best, win 5 Big Ten games, and that is ambitious, I think. I felt that earlier, and I feel it even more after watching the last 2 games. But to do so, to even be in the hunt for 2 or 3 wins, they're going to have to get better center play. I'm not saying good center play, right? There's a very low ceiling for that position, but they have to be much better offensively. Give yourself a chance, make the easy shots, and somewhat maintain this level defensively. They're going to need Tariq Francis to continue being a go-to scorer who can hit, threes and create a little bit for himself. They're going to need Dylan Grant to continue being aggressive, which he was early on in this game. That's the Dylan Grant you need. Some nights he'll go, 2 of 12 or whatever, but to give yourself a chance, you need the ball in his hands. You need him to create for himself, and you need him to, do what he can, get some scrappy baskets, make some threes. You need him to be your best player. And I guess you just need to hope that they don't turn the ball over as much. Turnovers have been a major issue. Let me pull up their turnover percentage for the year at this point. They turn the ball over on 17.9% of their possessions. That is a huge number. So they have to cut down the turnovers. And they have to hope that defensively their backcourt can hang in there. Their smaller back can hang in there with bigger guards from the Big Ten. Bruce Thornton from Ohio State is one of the elite guards in the league. He's coming in on Friday. That'll be an early major test. Obviously they had major tests against Michigan's Elliot Cadeau and Purdue's Braden Smith last month, but this will be another test on Friday against Bruce Thornton, who's Steve Pikiell's called him a linebacker in the past. He's a real bruiser. He's tall. He's physical. He'll get to the rim. He'll get to his spots. He'll create for his teammates. You have to you don't have to dominate defensively, but you have to hold your own. Hold your own and don't get beat on every possession. Because this team obviously is not built up to keep up offensively in a back and forth shootout. They're going to need to keep these games low scoring. And that comes with valuing possessions, not turning the ball over, maybe creating some chaos defensively, make up for your lack of height with some quick hands and forcing turnovers. Maybe the press is going to have to be a thing. It worked against Delaware State and Penn. Can it work against Ohio State? I have but at this point, you really don't have many options. So maybe throughout the press, make Bryce Dortch the point and really use his length to make opponents uncomfortable. And, for a lot of these, for any of the wins they're going to get, my guess is that most of that, if not all of them, are going to have to come from a hot shooting night from three. You got to get Tariq Francis to go Penn mode. You got to go and help other guys. Harun Zerno is liable for a big night from three. Whatever he had 0 of 7 tonight, he can always have a 4 of 7 night against someone else. Dennis Badelau has to give something. I mean, he's given nothing recently, so anything he gives is a plus from the last couple of games. There's just no clear answer, which again, not to go over the roster and the construction and all those things, but they're really Rutgers is putting itself in a significant disadvantage in every Big Ten game, and a lot of things have to go right. And I guess the one wild card is Rutgers going to add a player mid-season like other teams have, USC, Baylor, multiple other teams. Steve Peichel after the game, and he said, I hope that they add somebody. He said that they're exploring. He was joking, in between his answer. He asked me and Jerry Carino if we had eligibility left. I have 4 years. Jerry has 2 because he ran track at Seton Hall. And I think either of us adding to this team would not – I don't know if it would make it much worse, but it certainly would make it any better. Rutgers has been linked to Kyrie Walker, 25-year-old, went undrafted in 21, has been bouncing around the G League, Canada, Greece, currently in Mongolia. He's kind of on the market, and I believe he's visiting. I could be misremembering this. I think I read he was going to Fresno State. I might be confusing him with another football potential prospect. But the point being, if you add someone midseason, it's not going to be someone that revolutionizes the roster because no one that is that caliber of player is considering Rutgers at this point. Frankly, there's just no reason to, unless you want to come in here and take 1,000 shots and make a little bit of money, which is not a terrible proposition. Let's go through the questions. J-Mac says, just got home from the game. I can't believe I subjected myself to that ugly display of basketball. If there's a worse team than Delaware State, I'd like to see it, and we didn't look much better. Well, I will read you the 10 teams, according to Ken Palm, that are worse than Delaware State. They are Niagara, the Citadel, Fairleigh Dickinson, St. Francis, Gardner-Webb, South Carolina State, Morgan State, Binghamton, Coppin State, and Mississippi Valley State. The one team above Delaware State is NJIT, where Tariq Francis transferred to Rutgers, which will transition to TRC 41476. Do we know why Tariq came off the bench? Steve Peichel has said earlier in the season that off a win, he doesn't change his starting lineup. I think that might be a this season thing. I haven't gone back historically to see if that's been the case in the past, but they beat Penn. He came off the bench against Penn. He came off the bench today. I don't know if there's any major reason. I don't know if it matters. Frankly, it's a fair question, but I mean, does it really matter? I don't know. I think in a way, it's good to have him off the bench as an offensive spark plug. But the obvious issue is that there isn't really anybody in the starting lineup that is an offensive plus over him. That I don't know. Death Star 123. Sorry, just to wrap up the point on Tariq Francis, I would expect him to come off the bench against Ohio State as well if they're going to keep their philosophy consistent. But who knows? Death Star 123 says, "Is there anything to be confident about in this team? So many silly mistakes that will kill you in Big Ten play. I genuinely don't see many conference wins. No, there's really not much this team does well. That's there's nothing to hang your hat on. As I've said in the past, previous Rutgers teams like the 23-24 team, which was awful, they at least had an elite defense. At least you could hang your hat on that. This team is putrid offensively. They're 211th offensively, efficiency-wise on KenPom. They're 322nd nationally in effective field goal percentage. Every offensive category on KenPom is red, aside from offensive rebounding and free throw rate, two things which will not transition well from playing teams like Penn and Delaware State to Ohio State and Oregon. So that's not encouraging. And then defensively, they're putrid on the boards. They're 250th nationally in defensive rebounding percentage. They don't force that many turnovers. They don't commit fouls. They don't give up a lot of free throws. But again, a lot of that is because you're playing teams like Rider, Maine, Lehigh, and American, and you're playing at home. They give up a ton of open threes. They're 281st nationally in three-point defense. And then they're decent 2-point defense, 82nd nationally, but the caveat, again, is the bad teams they've played. And Rutgers has played so far the 346th non-conference schedule in the country. That's where their conference schedule, strength of schedule ranks. And the numbers are this bad. So it's hard to feel encouraged when the degree of difficulty of the opponents is rising significantly in the Big Ten. I wish I had a more optimistic take to give to you. We are the Positivity Podcast after all, but I'd be grasping at straws. Maybe the home crowd, if you really want to go to intangibles, but I'm not sure the home crowd will have a lot to get fired up about in Big Ten play. So, all right. Unless anybody has any last second questions, let me check the Discord real quick to see. I don't believe so. It doesn't look like it. I don't blame anybody if they chose not to watch this game, frankly. Thank you all for tuning in. It looks like there's nothing else. Have a happy new year. I can't tell you how much myself, Pallady, everyone appreciates you guys' support for the channel. We're up to 1,000 subscribers, which was our goal by the end of the year, and we hit it. Thanks to all of you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving us a platform to talk about Rutgers sports. It's very much appreciated, and we hope that in 2026 you all continue to watch and listen. You tell your friends about us, your family. You continue to subscribe. You can like our videos. It really does help. It really makes the effort on our end worth it. And before I log off, there's a couple more questions in the chat. You have consistently said 5 wins in the conference. Who? Question mark. And Frank R says you predict 5 Big Ten wins. Which 5? Back to back. Interesting. Some great minds think alike. It's a fair question. It's a fair question. Again, I thought 5 is the upper limit. I don't see that happening. I think right now we're closer to 2 or 3. The obvious candidates, they play 4 games against Maryland and Penn State, 2 each, home and away. You have to win half of them, at least half of them. In an ideal world, 3 of them, because those are the teams that you're competing with at the bottom of the Big Ten. You have games that are somewhat winnable against, for example, Oregon at home. You have Northwestern at home. Northwestern is good, not great. And you have Minnesota on the road. Minnesota is a hollow ground that Chris really struggles winning. But again, I'm grasping at straws here. If you had to ask me, if you set the over/under on 3.5 Big Ten wins, I would have a really hard time deciding. I might go over just so I can rationalize covering 19 or 18 more games of this, but I think 3 might be the number right now. Just Big Ten teams usually just don't win less than that. And we can argue that if Rutgers is the worst Big Ten team in quite some time, that's possible. I haven't done a deep dive, but bad teams win games over the course of a 20-game conference schedule. It's just it would defy math. You'd have to be, again, one of the worst teams of the century in the league to go 0 or 1 win. And Rutgers has been bad, really, really bad. The worst team in high major hoops by far so far this season. I don't think they're 1 Big Ten win bad. Again, just because of history. I'm surprised if I was wrong, and I don't blame your guys' pessimism. My Crown 29 says that, folks, is the last win of the year. Again, for Rutgers to go 0 of 20 in the Big Ten, let's do this right now. When is the last time a team went 0 of 20 in the Big Ten? I looked at this the other day. It's been a long time. Not last year, not the year before, not the year before that. I am in 2019-20. The last time a team won 1 Big Ten game was Rutgers in the final year of Eddie Jordan. Since then, I am in 2009 right now, back-to-back years of 1-win teams in the Big Ten. There has not been a team with 0 conference wins in the Big Ten since the 1999-2000 season. Literally the first season of this century. Since then, there has been at least 1 Big Ten win. And I just don't see Rutgers. If Eddie Jordan's won that last game under insane circumstances, half of Minnesota was suspended or whatever, they were playing walk-ons. They had to win that game, essentially. They had no other – they couldn't lose that game. But aside from that, there's really been no team that's been bad enough to potentially get 0 wins. So I think this team will win at least one. And then I would be surprised if it's not 2. maybe 3. But again, most of that, if not all of it, has to come in that 4-game stretch. Home and home, Maryland and Penn State. Rutgers, Penn State, Maryland are easily the 3 worst teams in the league. It's a matter of, and we're assuming Maryland doesn't have Ferrell Payne, who's been hurt. If he's back, Maryland is clearly a better team. But again, that's the stretch that will determine how many wins Rutgers gets, essentially. So we'll see. Frank R says, I love RU. I'll take this under. I don't blame you. That Rutgers is given no reason to believe that it will win more than 3 Big Ten games so far this season. I really don't blame you, Frank. But we'll see. We'll be here after every game. I hope a lot of you are back after every game and watching this. I'm surprised at how many are watching right now. I appreciate you guys' comments and participation. As I said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a big year for the rant. Appreciate every comment. Appreciate every email, positive or negative. We appreciate constructive criticism as well. We appreciate all you guys. So I hope you guys have had a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. And I hope you have a happy New Year. I hope we have 12 grapes. We, meaning Portuguese people, and I believe it's a Latino tradition as well. We have 12 grapes, and we have a wish for every grape for the new year. And I think a lot of you will wish for a much better Rutgers athletics year in 2026 than 2025. The bar will be low, but I think for everyone's sake, we'll all be wishing that. So we shall see. We'll follow it all the way through with you guys, and I hope you follow all the way through with us. So again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for participating. Thank you for watching, for reading, for commenting, for emailing, for everything. Thank you guys. Sincerely appreciate it. You all have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.